I'm Shannon and welcome to today's video. So today we're going into best and worst rooms at Art of Animation Resort. So just like with Pop Century, there really aren't any unicorn rooms. There's not a room that's odd shaped. I mean, the buildings that you can see are pretty standard, so you're not going to have that. It's really about location. So let's get into the different categories at Art of Animation. First, there's the Little Mermaid section, and the Little Mermaid section, one, obviously it is the only standard rooms. So they are two full beds. And Pop Century has switched to a queen and the queen pull down, but the Little Mermaid still has the two full beds. They did undergo a full renovation. The rooms are very, very nice, but they did not incorporate the pull down. I think a lot of people expected them to, but they did not. Next you have the Lion King section, and then the Finding Nemo section, which is basically the preferred. It's the center of the resort. And then the last is the Cars section. And the Cars section, I believe, is the only of the family suites that has 3 buildings. So now for us, our family, my son would pick Cars, no question. Doesn't matter the location, he'd want to be in the Cars section. Keep in mind that with the Little Mermaid, you do have an external entry like you would for Pop Century or any of the All-Star resorts, but the family suites all have internal entry. So while I always say with external entry, view really doesn't matter because, I mean, how often are you going to be opening the windows right by the door? I know I don't. Plus, we like ground floor, so we usually don't keep the windows open. Maybe with the family suites, a view might make a difference to you. But I think with these resorts, it's really more about location rather than about view. A little history of Art of Animation. For a long time, it was originally supposed to be the second part of Pop Century. I don't know if it had a different name, and it kind of was there deserted. And then finally, Disney picked it back up and made family suites out of it. I think the only buildings that were built were the Little Mermaid, and that's the reason why those are the standard rooms. And then it finally opened in May 31st of 2012. So let's get into the best and worst rooms at Art of Animation Resort.
Once again, we're going to start at terrainplans.com's page dedicated to Disney's Art of Animation. And as you can see, there's a lot of information. It gives you an overview, some beautiful pictures, talking about, the family suites and the difference with the standard rooms. Now, they are undergoing renovations right now. All the Little Mermaid rooms were just redone. So I will post some links below of the new refurbishments, but they're really nice. They still have 2 beds. So if you're looking for a standard value room that still has a traditional 2 beds, as opposed to what the renovations they're doing at Pop Century, where it's 1 bed and a pull down bed, then you would probably want to book the Little Mermaid standard rooms. So Landscape of Flavors is the food court, and people rave about it, say it's the best. Personally, we preferred Pop Century, but either way, it's just over the walkway, so you can actually go to both, and both are within walking distance. Talks about the pools. So there's pools. The main pool is the big blue pool, and the little Finding Nemo section, as well as there's a cozy cone pool, and then the flipping fins pool. So there is no pool in the Lion King section. So here's some information again. So here's all the information you need to find about Disney's Art of Animation. And here we have the map of Disney's Art of Animation Resort. And just give you a quick overview. So here is Animation Hall, the lobby, and the food court, all in this big building right here. Right over here is the bus stop. As I mentioned, there are 3 pools. There is the main pool in Finding Nemo. That's the big blue pool. Then you have the pool, I think it's the Cozy Cone pool, over in Cars. And then the Flipping Fins pool over in the Little Mermaid section. The Lion King section does not have a pool. However, it is the only area that does have a small playground. So keep that in mind. All were within walking distance. They're all very central. But I will say the Little Mermaid, the biggest complaint you'll always see is how far it is from everything. And it is, but that's what we're going to talk about today on, selecting and requesting a room. So now let's get into selecting a room. So we're going to start with the only standard rooms, and that is the Little Mermaid, again, as I mentioned before, you're going to pick standard view 2 double beds. There's probably 1 or 2 maybe rooms with king beds, but I would say ask for that in your description. But as far as selecting a room, I would go with just the 2 double beds because that is the room that you're probably booked in. Show matching rooms. And here we go. Obviously, this is the Little Mermaid section. So first things off, I would say the worst building to be in is going to be 8. It's going to be far from everything. Unless you're only solely taking parking and driving everywhere and you don't plan on going to Animation Hall or the lobby or the food court, then maybe 8 is fine. But personally, that is probably the worst building to be in. Still not bad. I personally would prefer to be in a Little Mermaid room rather than be at the All Stars. That is just us and that's just basically because the amenities and the Skyliner at Art of Animation are worth it to us. So we don't mind walking a little bit extra. Not everybody feels that way. So the 2 buildings you want to probably aim for are going to be either 7 or 9. And I think it's going to be one big factor, and that is, do you have a car? If you have a car, then I would recommend requesting Building 9. So we're going to click right here, and I would recommend this right here. So you can look right in this room, 9560, right near the parking lot, and then it's right on the corner. So personally, I would probably request this building or this room, 9561, which is just on the other side because it gives you a nicer view. But honestly, we really don't look at the room view that much, especially when we're in a value. So that would be where I would request if I were staying on property, and that's because we always bring our car. But if you don't have a car and you don't plan on driving to and from any of the parks, then I would recommend Building 7. And the reason being is, one, it's just a little bit closer to the walkway to the Skyliner. That's pretty much it. You have, this, if you go in the end, you're going to have a nice view of the lake and, really close to the walkway. So again, right on this side, 7536. And somebody did write some comments. Stayed in this room for 7 nights, late October 2014. Quiet, only heard people next door to us. One time, the whole 7 days. Clean, 10-minute walk to the food court. So that's a great location. And also, I would say these 2 are just going to give you a little bit closer to the Skyliner, but really very, very minimal. So if I were saying, I would probably recommend 7513. Just to be closer to the Skyliner. So to kind of give you some proximity, those 2 right here, they're really close to the lake. And then I would recommend this room, that last room I looked right here is going to be right on this corner. So again, recommending buildings 7 or 9. 7 if you don't have a car, 9 if you do have a car. Let's move on to the next section, and that is the Lion King and the Lion King family suites. And the same thing is going to apply. And as you can see, there are only 2 buildings. So I do recommend, if you have your car and plan on taking it, I would recommend Building 10. And I would probably recommend being on this end right here. You're going to be very close to your car, close to the walkway. If you wanted to be closer to the Skyliner, let's say you're going to split your time between the car and the Skyliner, then maybe you want to request being on this end here. So let's take a look at those rooms. Now, one thing to keep in mind with all of the family suites is that this right here is an exit door. And with the family suites, there is an internal entry as opposed to Pop Century or the Little Mermaid rooms that have external entry. The family suites are internal entries. So basically there's a door here, there's doors here and here. So I would recommend never selecting, well, I do usually like these corner rooms. I don't recommend them in these family suites because what you're going to hear a lot is that door slamming back and forth. And you can see if you click on some of these, there are comments from people who have stayed in some of these rooms saying it was very loud with people entering and exiting the building, and those doors are usually very heavy and they slam. So it's probably not a problem if people are coming in during the day, but if someone is coming in late at night and you have little ones, the last thing you want to do is hear those buildings slamming. So taking a look, if you want to be close to the parking lot, let's take a look at this room right here. And this is 0524, very close to the parking lot, very close to that walkway. And then again, if you wanted to be just closer to more central, close to the parking lot, but close to the Skyliner as well, again, don't recommend this room right here. So let's move down one and we're going to click, and that is 0537. Beautiful view of Mufasa and very, very convenient, very central location. Now, if you don't have a car, then I would recommend, which I think most people do not have a car, I would recommend building 6. So building 6 right here. There we go. Again, not the end, but maybe, well, let's just take a look at this one. You can see where it's just right on the water. And then the Skyliner would be just over on that side. So I would recommend probably this room, which is 6522 or 6521, a little further away from there. You can exit through that door or you can exit through this door. So let's just take a look, go back at the menu, and you would be just right here. So literally, if you were going to the Skyliner, you could exit through here. If you're going to take the bus, you could exit through here and then walk to the bus. So really, I don't think there's a bad room. I think it just depends on whether or not you have a car, or if you don't have a car. And if you don't have a car, I recommend building 6. And then I would focus on what floor you want to be. As I've always stated, we like being on the ground floor, but if you don't want to be on the ground floor, maybe you want to be on the 4th floor. Then, on the 4th floor, this corner room wouldn't really make a difference because you're not going to have an exit there. So you're going to have right there and beautiful view. So that's the view from the 1st floor, but really convenient. So I think really focus more on the floor you want to be on and the building specifically. Next, let's move to the cars section. Finding Nemo tends to be considered the preferred section, so we'll save that one for last. So we're going to move over to cars. And again, it's going to be the same issue. So if you, I would say building 2 is probably the least desirable. It's going to have the further walk. Now, it's not going to be as far as building 8 in Little Mermaid, as you can see. So it's really not that far of a walk, but I would say the least desirable would be building 2. So going back to buildings 1 and 3, it really depends on whether or not you have your car, or if you don't have a car and plan to use the Skyliner. So if you plan to use the Skyliner quite a bit, obviously I would choose building 3. Once again, if you're on the 1st floor, avoiding these end rooms. So let's take a look. Well, let's take a look over here. Got a nice view of the car section of the lake, and you'd have a great central location to exit through here and through this room right here. Or if you wanted to have the side of this and have the side of the Little Mermaid room. So building 3, I think, is where you want to be if you don't have a car and plan on using the Skyliner. Now going back, we're going to take a look at building 1. Now, if you do have your car and you plan on taking, even if you plan on taking the Skyliner, but you plan on taking your car to Bic, let's just look at this end room here. And you can see how close it is to the parking lot. So very, very convenient to the parking lot. Not that I would request that room again, because it's on the end, but maybe you would request this room 1519, 1520. You have access to this exit right here to get to the parking lot, or access to here to get to the Cozy Cone pool, or easy access to the Skyliner buses or lobby. Again, going back with Art of Animation, I think it's more important to focus on the building and then the floor rather than a specific room. And finally, we're going to go to the Finding Nemo family suites. And these are what are considered preferred. They're not categorized preferred, but if you look at pricing, these usually are a little more expensive than the Lion King or Cars area. And I think here you really can't go wrong. I would really focus on rather than being in which building, really focus on which level you want to be in. If you want to be on a ground floor or on the fourth floor, that's really where you want to focus. But if you had to make a recommendation and request a room, I would probably request something close to a pool. So this is building 5 and somewhere in the middle. So somewhere in the middle where you could exit, but just somewhere close to the pool. It's not a bad view, right? You could literally walk out and then go to the pool. And this is obviously the big blue pool. And as you can see, just looking at the building from across the way, you can see that it's just windows. There's no balconies and obviously no doors, as I said. So it's an internal entry. And this is why I say that it really matters less as far as which room you pick on the floor, because there's really only one exit. Whereas if you are staying in the Little Mermaid section, you literally just walk out your door. So you're still going to have to exit through either the central or the ends. I would say the most thing you want to do is state that you do not want an end room close to the exit, because that way those could tend to be loud. But with Finding Nemo, again, I don't think you're going to get a bad room. You're very central. There's a reason why these rooms are just a little bit more expensive. But if you plan on taking a Skyliner, maybe request a room closer to the Skyliner. Or if you plan on taking the bus, maybe requesting a room closer to the lobby. So here we are on my dashboard, and I'm going to show you how to request your room. So you're going to click on Disney's Art of Animation right there. And let's say we are in a Finding Nemo suite. So again, most importantly, you never want to request a room category that you did not book. So don't request a room in the Finding Nemo section if you booked a suite in the car section, or even if you booked a room in the Little Mermaid section. Don't always request the same category you booked. Now, with Art of Animation, they do have a general family suite category. This serves as basically a guarantee. If you're familiar with cruising, that's a guarantee cabin. The same concept applies. So basically, you are guaranteed to be in a family suite, but they're not guaranteeing the section. This is a way to usually kind of get on the waiting list for Finding Nemo at a little bit of a discounted price, but you're guaranteed a suite. But if there's no rooms available in the Finding Nemo, then you might end up in Lion King or Cars. So that's the only time I would say, you pretty much can request a room anywhere. But personally, if I were staying at Art of Animation, I think the theming is really a part of the experience. So I know for us, if we were ever to stay in a family suite at Art of Animation, our son would absolutely want to stay in a car suite. No question, that's where he would want to stay. So we would book the car suite. Even if it were cheaper to book that family suite category, we would want to guarantee that we were in the car section. So we would book that category. But let's show you how. Let's say we've booked the Finding Nemo category. Let's just request a room. We're going to show matching rooms right here. They're already there. And let's look at building 4. Again, there's only a couple exits. There's 4 exits. There's one here and then one at each end of the building. So really the location of where you're at within the building isn't going to make a huge difference, because you still have to walk to one of these exits. So keep that in mind. So let's say we just don't want to be near the end, but let's say we want to be right here, and that's 4505. Pretty nice view of the pool. And there's no comments. So we're going to click here to make our room request during your upcoming stay. And let it pop up. It's taking a little time. There we go. And there it is, requesting room 4505. Now you're not done. You got to go and configure that room request. There we go. My name's already populated with my fake email. And then it says, this is the information. Do not change that. That is there for the room assigners. Again, I don't know what that means, but room assigners probably do. And as you can see, I've already inputted that I want a ground floor room, not near an exit door. Those are the 2 things that are most important to me. I don't care if I'm in building 4 or building 5. I just want to make sure I'm on the ground floor and not near an exit door. So that's it. That's how you make a request. And those are my best and worst rooms, or I guess best and worst buildings at Disney's Art of Animation Resort.
So there you have it. Those are my suggestions in best and worst rooms at Art of Animation Resort. Obviously, it's really not, there's not really a bad room. It's really about what's your preference. Do you want to be on a ground floor? Do you want a nice view? Do you want to be in Finding Nemo? Or which section do you want to be in? Again, if you are booked, just like I would say in every other category, if you're booked in Lion King, don't request a room in Finding Nemo. The only way you could request a different category or one of the categories is if you book the general family suite category. That's basically kind of like you're guaranteed a family suite, but you just don't know which section. So if you're trying to get maybe the Finding Nemo section at a cheaper rate, but you wouldn't mind being in the Lion King or Cars, then book that family suite category if it's available. If not, you only want to be in Finding Nemo, make sure you book that category. And then also use touring plans. As I've always said, the $15.95 it costs for a subscription is worth the price for this room request feature. We got the exact room we wanted in our December vacation. We got the unicorn room at Disney's Boardwalk Villas, which there's only 3 of them, which is crazy that we got the exact room we wanted. And we've had some really great luck with requesting our room through touring plans. So definitely use their service, definitely subscribe. And that's it. So if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.